Yes, people, welcome back to Football's 12th Man. I'm your host as ever, Dan Potts, and apologies for being late. It's all on me. I was going to blame Pete, but it weren't his fault. The link didn't send through, so it's all my fault. I'm your host as ever, Dan Potts. I've got some great guests tonight, and before we go a little bit random tonight, I thought I'd get a couple of newbies on the channel in terms of newbies of the Premier League themselves. A good friend of the show, Tom Canton, and of course, the Newcastle fan, who I believe are going to be very, very busy as we talk transfer news. Boys, absolute pleasure to have you all on. First, let's start with you, Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good, very good. Not as relaxed as you after your holiday, of course, but yeah, very good indeed, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, man. And I had an unbelievable week in Croatia with the family. It was so chilled. And do you know what? I actually needed a break, not just from YouTube, but from football in general. And I got that. And now I'm back raring to go, man. It's amazing, isn't it? How you just have a nice week and then you kind of end up missing it. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, do you know what? I
Yeah.
messaged Tom today. I said, let's just jump on and let's just talk some transfer news, man. Because I've been out of the picture for a week. So this is going to be me hosting and everyone else telling me what the hell I've missed in the last week. So I'm relying on you guys. I really am. Thank you for coming on, Tom, as ever. Emilio is back in the house, mate. The last time we spoke, Emilio, Fulham were in the Premier League. Last season we had a break, and now you're back, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Good to have me. Thanks for having me back on, Dan. Good to see yourself, Tom, Mr. Dor, and Pete. Yeah, look, third time lucky. Hopefully, it's like third consecutive promotion into the Premier League. Let's hope we can stay there this year. But I'm actually enjoying a bit of time off the football. It got a little bit too much towards the back end of the season. Games are coming in thick and fast. Still the emotions of trying to win the championship and actually getting promoted. But yeah, I'm just appreciating a bit of time off. Whilst there's all this speculation with a million players that Fulham are linked with, and not one signing has taken place yet. So that's typical Fulham, to be honest. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the show tonight. Thanks.
Mate, it's typical. Everybody, mate. Everybody gets linked heavily with everybody. Somebody who knows all about that is Mr. Dor, mate. You must be buzzing still from your promotion in the playoffs. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling great, Dan. Thank you for having me on. I hope you lot are worried because the big guns are back in the Premier League. So I hope you lot don't hide from the Forest now. But seriously, I'm good to be back, man. Good to be back in the Premier League. 23 years, and now ready for August, man. Ready. But thank you for having me on, Dan. Thank you for having me on.
Nah, you're always welcome, man. Listen, last time me and Mr. Dor spoke, they were bottom of the league. Arsenal were bottom of the league. And then we nearly made Champions League and they went up in the playoffs. Unbelievable how times change. Yeah. But great to have you back, man. It really is. Another guy it's great to have back is, of course, Pete Davey. Daves, how you doing, bro?
You know what? I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, it's been ended up being a good season for us. So yeah, I'm just kind of just taking it all in and just enjoying it for what it is. But it was great to have you on our show on Loaded Mag NFC for away days. And yeah, so it was great to chat to you and hopefully do a lot more over the coming season.
Of course, man. Of course, it's great to have you on. Listen, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Fulham and Arsenal. How random can you get? And that's what it's going to be this show. We're just going to bring on fans to have a voice and hear from some different clubs. Because you know what? I do enough Arsenal content and I just wanted to do something a little bit different this season and, of course, this summer. So that's why I started this channel. So thank you all for being in the chat. Please smash a like on this channel and follow everybody else. Their links are all below their faces. So please go and follow all their socials and support everybody. Let's start with Newcastle, right? Because I know you're not with us for a long time, Pete. I know you're only with us for half hour or so. So let's talk Newcastle. I've got to be honest, mate. I haven't heard much on what's happening in Newcastle, but I expected you to be linked with absolutely everybody, mate. But I want to get your thoughts, not just on who you've been linked with and who you need, but like how big you expect Newcastle to go this summer. Because I've heard a lot of things about Newcastle are going to go mental. They're going to start splashing money on Raheem Sterling's and Declan Rice's and Bellingham's and all this. But I've also heard that you're going to be a little bit similar to how Man City did it. Do you remember when they went Premier League proven and got the likes of Gareth Barry and Craig Bellamy and Les Scott? And it kind of went from there before they went on to the David Silvas and De Bruyne's of this world. So I wanted to get your opinions on Newcastle's summer and your predictions about what you think is going to happen, mate, because I have no idea who you're linked with, man. So over to you, Pete.
Well, look, I think all Newcastle fans when we finished the game at Turf Moor, Burnley, and I was there, it was kind of like a great game, 3 points, great end to the season. But I think all Newcastle fans took a deep breath and thought, right, we're in for a big summer. And not for a big summer in terms of we're going to splash the cash. It was going to be a big summer because of what you just said, Dan, is that we are literally going to be linked with everybody. And we have, to be fair. Now, anybody that knows Newcastle and follows Newcastle would know that that's not going to be the case. We know the media are always going to do that. They've linked us with everybody. I think we were linked with Mbappe and Holland at some point, which is just ridiculous. Like, we're not going to sign those sorts of players, and nor should we at the stage that we're at. But what you will find, I think, this summer is that we will go about our business in a shrewd manner. We're not looking to spend hundreds and hundreds of millions on players. But I think the movement today in what we did, so we finalised the deal for Matt Target. He's gone from a loan to a permanent move. And he signed, sealed, delivered in the last couple of hours. And I think that's going to be the type of signing we're going to get. The one thing that people on the outside looking in don't realise about Newcastle is that we've got a lot of players that have overstayed their welcome. So the likes of John Joe Shelby, the likes of Matt Ritchie, the likes of Isaac Hayden that's just moved on loan to Norwich. You've got the likes of Jamal Lascelles and one or two others that have been great servants to the club for a really dark moment in our history, but have overstayed their welcome, that under another ownership, another manager wouldn't have been at the club at this point in time. And we need to move players on. So it's about improving those players. With moving those players out, it's about improving those players and making sure that the quality comes in and is going to take us to the next level. You asked the question about where I see us going next season, and already we've been linked with getting Champions League football and stuff like that. It's not realistic. However, I think with the investment that we do this summer and the players that we're linked with, there's a bit of a link this evening actually that we're potentially winning the race to get Sven Botman from Lille ahead of AC Milan, which would be a massive statement. And I tweeted that out about an hour ago. It'd be a huge statement if we beat AC Milan, Serie A winners, Champions League football. If we beat them to Sven Botman, it's looking like it's potentially going to happen. If we can get players like that in the club, then I see us potentially being a comfortable top 10 team. And once we solidify that top 10, why not look to then get into the top 8 and see if we can push or be in the talking for Europe? I think most Newcastle United fans, if we ended the season around 10th, 9th or 8th in the league, had a decent cup run, not necessarily won it, but had a decent cup run, so we haven't had one for 15 years, and then was in the talking within the last 6 to 8 games of the season of being in Europe, I think Newcastle fans would be happy with that. And that would show progress from what we've been doing previously. And then we build from that. Because it's going to be a building process. It's going to be 6, 7, 8, however many years before we're considered a team that is viably challenging for top 4 on a yearly basis, in my opinion, with investment. So that's where I am right now. It's going to be a mad summer with links all over the place. You've got to take a lot of it with a pinch of salt. But I think we are going to get the players in that Eddie Howe wants and what the ownership wants.
Yeah, man, it's realistic and quite level-headed of you to say that, because I've spoken to some people who think you're just going to go nuts and it's going to be mental. Don't be surprised if Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice is your midfield next season, stuff like that. I think you've got to be realistic about who wants to come to Newcastle right now. I have no doubt in 5 years' time you could attract the world's best like Man City can, because we're talking about a team here that have got ownership which is of the 100 billions, not just the billions. So you're going to be successful. You're going to do what Man City and Chelsea have done. We're going to see you win stuff 100% in my era of football, and everybody in here is going to see Newcastle win stuff. It's a fact. It's happened at Man City. It's happened at Chelsea. It's going to happen at Newcastle. But Tom, I want to come to you because I know you're kind of an opinion that it's similar to me, that I think Newcastle in a few years' time will be up there. But right now, where do you see realistically their business taking place this summer? Do you think they're going to go big, or do you think it will be wise from Eddie Howe to just have a look at who he thinks is going to bring them forward for the kind of long-term future of Newcastle?
Yeah, I think what you saw in January was that statement that they're not going to go out and be stupid like we've seen other clubs do. I mean, I remember when QPR came up and spent really silly money on some silly profiles and it just didn't work. Obviously, Emilio will talk about when Fulham came up, a couple of years ago, spent a lot of money when actually it may have been done better to consolidate, the talent they already had. But in this case with Newcastle, what I think we'll see is a continuation of this process with, say, the 1 or 2 Bruno Guimaraes style signings to gradually build up that talent base within the squad. And that's going to be important because there is still some good business that's been done prior to this takeover. You know, Callum Wilson is a number 9. If you can keep him fit for a season, is an excellent Premier League level striker and will give you plenty of goals. And when Newcastle want to go to that next level for a striker, it will probably be when they've broken into that top 10 and then, you know, top 8, top 7 to those European places, rather than, say, going big on a risky striker now when they've already got a very decent one that can take them up the table with the extra talent around them, to then go for that big striker when they need to, when they've got more clout to attract that style of player. As an Arsenal fan, you know, Arsenal are the step that Newcastle want to take. You know, they want to be a team that's getting into European competitions. And so from an Arsenal perspective, there is a threat because we know that Arsenal spending-wise, it's up and down, it's unpredictable. Yes, we spent more than any other team last summer. There's no guarantees Arsenal are going to do that every single season. It'll be interesting how we obviously cope with it this season. But Newcastle will be looking at Arsenal as, you know, perhaps one of the gazelle that breaks away from the pack and a lion that takes it down, maybe. But I think that's how Aston Villa previously saw Arsenal. But obviously last season it didn't work out too well for them. So I am concerned about obviously what Newcastle will bring to the league with this new money, with the statement signings that they've made, and they've already proven with that Bruno Guimaraes signing that, you know, they are pushing forwards with some sensible deals, not just some mad money-driven chaos that maybe some expected.
Yeah, fair play, Tom. I'm going to stay with you because there's some transfer news today, rumours today, should I say, and I saw your channel. Guys, make sure you do head over and look at the Gooner Talk TV. Tom's on there every day at the moment talking about transfer news, so please make sure that you do go over there madly in the morning as well. But make sure you do go over there. Tom, I want to talk to you about a couple of players that have been linked today. Darwin Nunez, Manchester United linked with him heavily, but I see today that Liverpool are now favourites to sign him, and I think it's a reaction that Liverpool need, in my opinion, because obviously Haaland going to Man City is pretty much wrapped up, in my opinion, next season that City will win the league again. Liverpool had to react and do something. There's rumours that Mane may leave and go to Bayern Munich the other way. Salah still isn't, you know, committed to Liverpool in signing that long-term deal. And then I heard Gnabry as well, is somebody, Serge Gnabry, who's not signing the Bayern Munich contract, looks at links to Arsenal, but Liverpool may look at him now if Mane goes. So I just wanted to know what rumours you've heard and if there's any truth in any of those, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool look pretty close beyond any other team to this Darwin Nunez deal situation at the moment. 80 million euros that could rise to upwards of 100 million. That seems the magic number in 2022 for transfers. We've seen Tchouameni obviously go off to Real Madrid from Monaco, and obviously we previously seen Jack Wilshere hit that magic 100 million number in sterling, of course. But it's a concern. It's one of those as an Arsenal fan that you're frustrated at, because our aim is obviously to try and close the gap with clubs like City and Liverpool. We want to be up there challenging for titles, but we're not capable of, at the moment, you know, attracting or competing with those two for types of profiles that we want. And Nunez is a player that is certainly more risky than the Haaland signing at Manchester City, because, you know, Haaland's got that pedigree of playing in an elite European league, playing in the Champions League consistently. And while Nunez has scored against some big teams in the Champions League, it's still going to be a risk for Liverpool to invest that much in a player that hasn't got that regular experience of playing week in, week out in a league that is going to demand so much more of you with respect to the Portuguese league. Because in Portugal, you've got three main teams in Sporting, Benfica and Porto. You've got other slightly smaller teams in Braga, etc. But the drop-off is incredibly bigger compared to, say, the Premier League's drop-off from their teams from, say, third downwards. So it's a risk, but if he does come into that Liverpool team, he's going to get plenty more service and a lot more quality service as well. And you'd think for a guy as instinctual at scoring goals as he is, that it's really going to be it could be a match made in heaven for him. And he scored obviously against Liverpool and clearly impressed Klopp when they played against him in the Champions League. So yeah, a concern for sure.
Yeah, he was my number one, mate. I'm not going to lie, but as soon as we missed out on Champions League, I think that was that, if I'm honest with you. Before I do move to Emilio and Mr. Dor, Tom, I want to get your thoughts on this comment that's coming from @YouTuber. It says, iPods, thoughts on Spurs missing on Bastoni, Gvardiol and Botman, who obviously Pete was talking about, even with Conte, Champions League and a reported huge budget. Let's not get too cocky, because trust me, I believe Conte will be backed, and as much as I hate to say it, they are my tip for third place next season. I'm behind Liverpool and City for the pure fact that they've got an elite manager. They've got two of the best strikers that I know in the Premier League. A great front three now with Kulusevski to add to it. Perisic, who's not going to come in and sit on the bench and lost it. He's definitely good enough. And reports of Bastoni coming in, who I think would be an unbelievable signing next to Romero. And I think if Conte's backed, Spurs for me are ahead of Chelsea to get top three, third place, sorry. Tom, What have you heard about this? Because I don't know they've missed out on those players. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, well, the bottom one, obviously, leading on there from what Pete said about Newcastle and AC Milan, they're the leading candidates for him. So Spurs weren't really one of the top targets because Botman wasn't seen as their primary. You know, Bastoni's has been for some time, and I would have been, as an Arsenal fan, fuming if they'd have got hold of Bastoni because he is a hell of a player. It's one of those classic things where the Italian kind of football culture doesn't see a young player until they're it's weird. It's like we think of young players, you're like your 18, 19s, 20s, but you can be 23 in Italy and still considered your young kind of players. And Bastoni's reached that stage where if he's not going to be given the opportunities, you know, in the Italian national side, he may want to try and prove himself in the Premier League. Thankfully, from our perspective, it is. I think his agents come out in the last kind of few hours or so and said that, you know, he's going to stay with Inter. So thankfully, that deal doesn't look like it's going to happen. Claudio, I don't know enough about to comment, but he's also a very good player that's had a good step up to RB Leipzig. So it would be interesting how if that does happen. But I expect Spurs to go down the route of the Perisic style, experienced, you know, players that are going to give you immediate impact. And if Conte moves on in a year, it leaves them stranded with those style of players that could be, to a fingers crossed, detriment in the future.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm hoping, man, because he hasn't signed that contract, and I just hope he has this 18 months, 6 months down the line, have a year with Perisic and Eriksen, who's reportedly coming back to Spurs, and then once he goes, they can all be left with a load of 34-year-olds, including the Harry Kanes and Sons who are touching 30. Let's all think wishful thinking. Excuse me. Let's come over to Emilio, because Emilio, I want to talk to you about Fulham and your thoughts on your transfer window. You've got a reputation, let's say, of spending a lot of money when you come into the Fulham. Coming to the Premier League last time, Fulham, and I feel like there might be some lessons to be learnt there. So, as a fan base, what are your thoughts going into this transfer window, mate, to try and give you the best chance of at least staying in the Premier League like you all wish that you can do? So, what's your thoughts, mate?
If I look about the last two transfer windows, you know, the first one was 4 years ago. We spent over 100 million, and again, on paper, the players are very good. You know, we bit like Newcastle. Then we had money. We were backed by our owners. And obviously, clubs, you know, the clubs were putting inflated prices for us to buy these players. It was like take it or leave it. I think we had no choice, and you know, we made some bad decisions, bad managerial decision. We ended up having 3 managers that season before we got promptly relegated. 2 years ago, I thought the transfer signings we made a couple of seasons ago were pretty good enough to stay in the Premier League, but we didn't have the right manager. So maybe a bit like yourself, Dan. You're always saying about, you know, your manager Arteta not good enough compared to Conte. You know, again, Scott Parker had his way of playing, got us promoted, so you give him a chance to succeed in the Premier League. And I thought the players he had on his books were good enough to be more competitive. I think under this manager, Marco Silva, I think we would have had more chance of staying in the Premier League 2 years ago than under Parker. But that's history now, so we've moved on. But we've got a lot of transfers to do. Let's be honest. Even a month ago, while we hadn't wrapped up the Championship, I was still saying we needed 5 or 6 new signings, regular players, to be starting in that starting 11 team. Plus, we need a bigger bench. Obviously, we've got the new 5 substitution rule now for next season as well. We need to consider having a much stronger bench as well. So overall, we're going to need to make at least probably 6 key signings and strengthen the bench as well. I think we've got a better manager. We play a more offensive way of an attacking football, which I enjoy watching. For us, it's a bit like Forest, Mr. Dorr. I think it's all about staying in the Premier League. I don't care if we finish 4th from bottom. Stay in the division and push on and build on. We can't keep going yo-yoing like Norwich, Watford. You know, and we're going to be classified as that. We are classified as that team, but we've got to really start to make a difference. And I think we've got a better chance this time around. I'm reasonably confident, but we've got to get in there quickly. We have no signings yet. We wrapped up the Championship many weeks ago. I thought we would have got there ahead of the game, start making a few key signings, make a statement of intent. But clearly the owners are being very cautious. But we've got likes of Newcastle. These other teams are sniffing for the same players as we are. So again, why would you come to Fulham when potentially Newcastle have got bigger aspirations and can push up the league? So it's going to be bloody tough. I'll be honest with you. It's going to be tough to stay in the Premier League, but no reason why we can't do it. It's going to be probably about 8 teams fighting for 3 places at the bottom. We'll be one of them. Forest will no doubt be one of them as well. And then it's all about beating the teams around you. That's the key thing. Beat the teams around you at home. Get the right squad, the right talent, a bit of experience, and then we've got a better chance. I'm more optimistic, put it that way.
Go for it, Tom.
Yeah, just had a very quick question for you, Emilio. It was interesting saying about, the 6 signings or so that you want to see come into the club. I think you made a great point about the substitutes and having 5 available. But you said about 6 starters, is there a worry from you that you may risk repeating that mistake? Because as you were talking, I was just looking up what Brentford did, in the season that they came up, and they brought in Aya from Celtic, Onyeka, who barely played, and Wissa, who actually played quite a lot towards the end of the season. But that was it. And they relied upon the players that they had coming up from the Championship that kept them there. Is there not a worry for you of that repeat again?
Well, some of our players this season, or fringe players from last season, already been released. So, John Michel Seri, for example, I thought had a very good season for us. He got released, so clearly they couldn't come to terms in terms of salaries. I think his salary demands were probably too high. He's only 30, so yeah, we've made some key decisions. I think quite some ruthless decisions. Clearly, we've got some of the other players who I thought were good enough to stay as squad players. Obviously, the board and the manager thought they weren't good enough. So I think we've got to be ruthless here, to be honest. I think we've got the right manager here. I don't think the defence in particular is strong enough to compete at the Premier League. So we have to reinforce. That's no surprise. That's where most of our potential signings are going to be in the central defence and your wing backs. I think we need a new goalkeeper as well. I don't think the goalkeeper is good enough to play at the top level. And then we need some strength in midfield. So we need quality and strength from the back right through to the front to give us a good chance to succeed. But I think if we persevere with the players that we've got now, then it's going to be a long, hard winter, to be honest.
So
yeah, fair play. Before I come back to Pete, before I know he's to shoot off soon, I want to get Mr. Dawes' kind of opinions on Forest, and is it similar to Fulham? Because I got to talk to you about a couple of players. You got Davis, you got Jed Spence, Mr. Daw, that are both on loan, and that's going to be hard to keep both of them. I love this Spence kid. I think he's top quality, mate. I know you said the last 6 games or so dropped off a little bit, but I loved what I saw when I did see him play. So how key is it for that kind of to be looked at and considered? And where are you looking at strengthening, mate?
The thing about Jed Spence, he wants to stay at Forest. And after what he did last season, and as you said, Dan, when he played against you lot.
Yeah, unreal. Cheers for that.
Unreal. That's all right. And now everyone wants him. Everyone wants him. And the thing I'm just more cheesed off because we didn't put a clause in it to buy him because Mitrovic didn't want him. And but everyone's after him. And like I said, he wants to stay. Is there a chance they can get him? I don't think there is, because if we make a bid, where with this top 6 team, I think Spurs are favourites to buy him now, or I think that's for 20 million now. But it's going to be hard. But yeah, it was just an unreal season for Spence. But Gordon Davis, another player, played fantastic for Forest. Do I want Forest to sign him? Is he good enough for the Premier League? We don't know. That's the thing. If he was, Villa would have kept him. So it's going to be difficult keeping these players, like all the loan players. There's as well Garner from Man United as well. Who else is there? We've got Ziganel from Watford. These players from the Premier League club. So these loan players, hopefully we can keep. I want, like I said, keep Spence. Hopefully Garner, but it'll be the 3rd time Garner's been on loan at Forest, so it's going to be difficult. So I think the manager will want to see what it's like. But it's been unreal, and regarding players like Emily said, regarding staying in the Premier League, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard playing against big teams. Like the Premier League is different kind of Fletcher Championship. I'm playing against top teams like Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs. It's it's unreal. I can't believe I'm saying this because, like I said, everyone knows. Like I said, we were bottom of the league. We were bottom of the league, and no one thought that I'd be here talking about the Premier League. And as everyone knows, we beat Arsenal in the FA Cup, Leicester in the FA Cup. We nearly beat Liverpool. In the FA Cup. The players, I think we've got a good side. I think going into the new season, I think we're. I don't want to be like Fulham, but I remember I spoke to Dan about how Fulham spent. How much was it, Emily? Was it 140 million on 14
100 million? Yeah, 100 million.
I don't want Forest to be like. If Forest do that, we'll go straight back down. we'll go straight back down because we've got the core players like we've got the players like Joe Worrell, Ryan Yates, Brendan Johnson, can be players that know the club inside out. And if we do what Fulham did, we'll go straight back down. So it's just exciting to play. Do I have to say Newcastle a big club now because they've got so much money to spend? So
not yet. Not yet.
so yeah, it's just exciting to just be in the Premier League and see what these young players can do.
Yeah, of course, man. Pete, go on, mate.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question, obviously, about Forest. So, we've got a couple of ex-Forest players at Newcastle, Jamal Lascelles and Carl Darlow. I think at the very least, Carl Darlow has been told, that he hasn't got a future. We're actively looking for a goalkeeper. We've been linked with Dean Henderson at Man United. Jamal Lascelles has been heavily linked with a move back to Forest potentially, because he's likely to be fourth choice next season. What do you think about potentially signing those two boys and having them back, or maybe one or the other?
Regarding Jamal Lascelles, like I said, how old is he? 28? Is he 28 years old now?
Yeah, 28.
Yeah, and why not? He's got Premier League experience. He's been here tonight. Was he captain for you lot as well?
Still is.
So
captain.
For that, like I said, it's important that we get experienced players who's played in Premier League. I know we've been linked with every bloody top thing, Harry, as well since we've got to the Premier League. So getting Lascelles, we've got Cook, who's experienced players as well. He's done it for Bournemouth, but bringing another experienced player, why not? Regarding Darlow. No, he's a good keeper, but he wasn't my. When Newcastle announced he signed, I thought, okay, am I crying about it? No, but Goran Darlow, not for me. Let him go to Let him go to Fulham or something like that.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'll keep Lascelles. Yeah, I like Lascelles. So he's a leader as well. So that's what we need as well, a leader, because that's what Forest have lacked. We brought Cook in January from Bournemouth. We lacked the leader, and I think if we didn't have him, I don't think we would have got promoted. So, like Premier League, tip of kettle of fish, bring Lascelles in, experience. Why not?
Fair play, man. And do you know what? It's interesting you say, Pete, about a new goalkeeper, because correct me if I'm wrong, man, but I'd have Dubravka over Dean Henderson. I think Dean Henderson's a bit of a sieve. Like, everything I see goes through him. Like, I don't think Dean Henderson is as great as people believe. I really don't. I don't see that he is an outstanding goalkeeper, and I think Manchester United have realised that when they put him in and thought, oh dear, you're not ready, and brought David De Gea straight back in. I'm not sure that would improve Newcastle, personally. I don't know. I didn't know you were looking at a goalkeeper. Is there problems with Dubravka now, Pete, or...?
Being honest, no, there's not. He's actually had a good run to the end of the season, but it's when there's no ownership, and when there's, you look at Chelsea, you look at Man City. What you do, you start from your spine in terms of building a team, and it's always about your goalkeeper. Where's your goalkeeper that's going to be there for the next 6, 7, 8 years? Where's your centre-back, your big, solid centre-back? We're looking at Botman and being that guy at 22 years old. Where's your midfielder, Bruno Guimaraes? Okay. Where's your striker? We've got Callum Wilson, as you said, but long-term, we're going to need to. You want to look down your spine and know that you've got those top players that are going to take you to the next level. And although Dubravka, I think he's a fantastic keeper. I really rated him. We paid $4 million for him. Nobody even knew who he was when Benitez brought him in. But he's 33 years old. And yes, he's still got a number of years left in the Premier League. However, if you're thinking long-term, I think at this point, it's important to look at a goalkeeper. And you're not the only one. There's a lot of Newcastle fans that feel the same way that you do, Dan, about Dean Henderson. But the one thing I'll say is that he had a fantastic run at Sheffield United in the Premier League that nearly got European football. He was the big reason why they did as well as they did that season. They got a hell of a lot of clean sheets, and it was on the back of his big saves. And so he has got the ability. He didn't prove it at Man United, but I think he's hungry to show. Me personally, I think with a run of games, he would be England's number one goalkeeper. He's better than Pickford, in my opinion. It's not hard. just my opinion. Obviously, the fact that he's got his Mackham links doesn't help him in that conversation. But you know, I think the fact that he's 25 years old, the fact that he's still got lots of room for improvement. You could get 10 years out of Dean Henderson, and you could see a massive improvement with playing regular football on the back of that. And I think that was part of the conversation. The only issue is, and the reason why I think that deal won't happen, is because Man United are playing hardball at the moment. Their quoting's like £40 million. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, it was ridiculous that Everton paid 30 million for Pickford. He wasn't worth that then. You know, for me, I wouldn't pay anything more than 20 million for Dean Henderson, which is why I think that deal's gone quite quiet. And I think we'll look elsewhere. But look, I'm happy with Dubravka. We could get another couple of years out, no problem. But I think with the project now, with Dan Ashworth coming in as sporting director, with Eddie Howen, they are looking ahead. And that's not a bad thing for Newcastle, and we haven't had that for 14 years, so I can't argue with it, but that's just kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, fair play, Pete. Before I let you go, because I know you've got to go in a minute, I'm going to give everybody this, so Tom, Milio, and Mr. Dorr can have a bit of thinking time. But I'm going to ask you, man, and put you on the spot a bit. If you could have 3 players in the Newcastle team for the start of next season, realistically as well, no Mbappes and Haalands, who are you going for, man?
I'll go off the players that we've been heavily linked with at the moment. So, Sven Botman, because we've been after him since January.
Good player.
We've been desperate for him, 100%. A player that maybe one or two might not know about, maybe you do, Moussa Diaby at Bayer Leverkusen. Again, we've been heavily linked with him. We're picking him up on the right wing. We need a right winger that can get goals and assists. And then the last person is probably a mix between the two. Now, one of them is not realistic because you've already talked about him today, and that's Darwin Nunez. Now, Newcastle have scouted him since October last year. We've scouted him heavily. And we wanted him in January. We couldn't get the deal done, too much money. And then I always said to the Newcastle fans on our podcast, the better he did in the Champions League made it more and more difficult for us to get that deal done. Nobody talked about Man United or Liverpool wanting him, but all of a sudden he has a great Champions League spell, and then he goes to the big boys instead, which I'm gutted about because he's a super talent. He is super, super talent. So the alternative to that would be Lucas Paqueta from Lyon. Bruno Guimaraes is his best friend and Brazilian international teammate. He's a terrific talent. Lyon are not currently in Europe this season, so we're going to need to balance the books. At the moment, at this point in time, they are quoting high prices, the best part of 55 million, which is, you know, it's a lot of money. But I expect us to revisit that one later on in the window, and he would be a tremendous signing because we need more goals from our centre midfielders, and he would be the one to really unlock defences because he can play as a number 9, he can play as a number 10, he can play as a number 8, he can play in so many different positions, and he can just interchange with a lot of midfielders, and he would be a tremendous signing. So those 3 in particular.
I think they're pretty realistic, mate, as well. I think you've done well to name those 3 because, you know, I'm not so sure they'd be realistic if Newcastle weren't in the position that you are in terms of your financial power. But I think actually all 3 of those have got a point to prove in the Premier League. And I think all 3 of them would probably come to Newcastle and like the project because they're at the right age. I've heard a lot about this Diaby guy on the right. I think Tom has as well from Leverkusen. I know Bruno Guimaraes is a player me and Tom really wanted at Arsenal. And I think if Paqueta's going to come along too as well, that would be a great link up for those 2 if they're really suited to each other's style of play and get on well. And I also think that Sven Botman is very highly rated and spoken about from Lille. And I know that Lille seems to just have a great recruitment structure because they have some great players, Lille. They really, really do. Tom, what's your before I let Pete go, what's your thoughts on those names?
Yeah, obviously that would be, again, the types of signings that you would have as Arsenal fans or any fans of clubs in the top half that are looking at that and going, yeah, bloody hell, sort of thing. So it's everything that we were expecting from them. Like on the Lille thing briefly, I don't know if you'll still see that type of recruitment because PSG have just nicked the guy that got all of their good recruitment, Luis Campos. He's gone to PSG.
I hate that club. I'm sorry, I hate PSG. I cannot stand PSG.
Not only are they nicking the best players, they're taking the best recruiters as well. So yeah.
Unbelievable. Pete, listen, man, I'm going to let you shoot off because I know you've got to shoot off. But, mate, thank you so much. Quickly before you go, how can people follow you and obviously your podcast, bro?
Yeah, well, my Twitter account is on the tag just below me. Yeah, you'll be able to find me on Loaded Mag NUFC. If you type that into YouTube, you'll be able to find us there. We're on weekly. We've got a massive transfer show that we do every week. We've got one tomorrow night at 8:00 with one of the Newcastle journalists that joins us every week, Jordan Cronin. So come in. We've got the latest links. My brother, in fact, is a PSG season ticket holder and a French journalist who joins us for the show as well, that talks all things French football. So I can't say too much bad about PSG because it'd have me for that. But yeah, like I say, we have great opinions about all transfers, not just Newcastle, but we've got informed guys in Jordan and Lee that know their stuff from a journalistic perspective. So it's a great show. 8:00 tonight. Tune in. Loaded Mag NUFC.
Top man, Pete, legend. Thank you so much for coming on, man. We'll see you very, very soon. I'm sure we'll get you back on. And
Cheers, Pete.
yeah,
Take
next
care,
time,
Have a good one, Pete.
next time Newcastle sign someone, we'll bring you on, bro.
100%. Guys,
Stay
it's
away-
been a pleasure.
Stay away from Forest. Stay away from Forest.
Look, we were coming for Brendan Johnson until you got
He's
promoted.
not coming. He's not coming.
You're safe for a year, but we were linked heavily with him. So we'll talk about it the next time. But everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure. Dan, keep doing what you're doing. It's great stuff, and a pleasure to be back on. And look forward to the next one.
Cheers, Pete. Top man. Take it easy, bro.
Take care, guys. See you later.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Before we talk Arsenal, I want to come to you again, Emilio, because Mitrovic is a player that has absolutely smashed it in the Championship, but has not always smashed it in the Premier League. For Newcastle and for Fulham, he wasn't quite as prolific as he was in the Championship, and a lot of people are saying he's a Championship striker, but I wanted to get your opinions on it before I come to Mr. Thor, because I know that in the Championship, he was just an absolute killer. So your thoughts on trying to keep him, and how can you get him scoring next season, mate?
I think 4 years ago when we signed him in the transfer win in January. In the season we got promoted, and he had a good second half of the season then. And in that season under Jokanovic and then Ranieri and then Parker, I thought he didn't do too bad. In a poor team, he scored I think about 10 goals. Actually, that's not too bad for a team that gets relegated. Parker didn't utilise him last season in the Premier League, and I think he paid the price for that. To be honest, of losing his job at the club, or decided to leave the club. So. He's got his confidence back. Serbia. He's a record goal scorer at Serbia now. He's banging the goals in for his country as well. And that can't be a mean feat. Serbia no pushovers either at international level. He's got good players around him. We suit the style of football that Mitrovic is playing. We've got a very attacking, offensive way of playing. With under Marco Silva, you're going to win many games. You're going to lose many games. But one thing you can't fault him for is there's going to be entertainment on the pitch. And I think he's got his mojo back. This season he was incredible, both for his country and for his club. We get the right crowd. I think he needs some support around him. That's my only thing. He's not going to get clearly as much space in the Premier League next season. I still think we need another player to feed off him in the Premier League. I think we've got Wilson. I think is good player, good talent. Young, hungry, Welsh international, will do well for the club. But Mitrovic needs someone else alongside him. And if we can get somebody someone like a sniffer in the 6-yard box, somebody you can feed off and they can score goals around the pitch. And I think he's got a good chance to do well. I think he's Fulham through and through. He's still 26, 27 years old. He's still got a few more years. He loves the club. He clearly loves the manager. He loves the fans. The fans love him. I think he's still got a future. I think he can prove a lot of critics wrong, to be honest. But it goes back to what I said earlier. We need half a dozen new players, one of which is probably a striker, an additional striker to feed off him.
Yeah,
don't rule him
play,
out. I think he needs to prove his critics wrong. I think that's the thing for me. Just because he scored 40 plus goals in the Championship, he's not clearly not going to score that many in the Premier League. But he will defy the critics, in my opinion, and have a good season ahead of him.
I think he's a good player. I really like him. I think he's a nuisance. I think he holds the ball up well. I think he's a threat in front of goal. And I don't quite know why it hasn't worked out for him at the top level, but perhaps it is just because, it's a different level, and also he's not in the same quality of side that, without being no disrespect to Fulham, that perhaps he could be in a, what would he do going back to Newcastle? What would he do going to West Ham up top now? Somebody like that who needs a striker. I was suggesting the other day to Lawless that perhaps West Ham would go in for somebody like Mitrovic, but we shall see. Mr. Thor, let's come to you, man. There's a question for you in the chat, which I'm going to bring to you in a minute, but your thoughts on Mitrovic, mate, and what he can do this season?
Let me tell you something. When we played Fulham, we beat 1-0. He's one Mardy guy because I remember Scott McKenna had him in his back pocket, and all he did was moan to the linesman, "I'm not getting this, I'm getting that." And now he's in the Premier League. He's going to get more Mardy. So if it was you lot, I'd be worried about him getting at least 6 or 7 red cards because all he does is moans about the officials. But not worried. Not worried
He's
about
definitely
him.
improved his the last season or so, and as his confidence has come back now, he's picking up less
All he
yellow
did was
cards.
moan. Did you go to the game? All he did was moan.
Yeah,
Especially the first half, the first 25 minutes, because McKenna had him in his back pocket. Oh, I'm getting this, getting that. Listen to me. When you've been in the Premier League, when you got the best defenders against you, then he needs to toughen up like a man. I know he's a good striker. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he's back in the Premier League now, and he needs to toughen up more and do more things. Because I think 2 seasons ago he didn't do nothing, did he?
No, he wasn't given the chance really under Parker to be honest. But I think look at him this season, his mentality's changed. He was like more focused. He's always tracking back defensively to defend corners and set pieces. Picked up less yellow cards than he traditionally does. To be honest, I think overall, I think he's learned a lot. He's matured under Marcus Silva. So I've got to give the manager credit here for giving him some confidence, restoring that confidence. Clearly, we've got him playing a system that suits him. Again, he's not going to get as much space in the Premier League. That's inevitable. But I think he's going to hurt some teams there defensively. I think again, no disrespect to Forest and other clubs around us, but it's all about survival next season. And there's 8 teams there. We've got to win your home games against those 8 teams, pick up some bonus points against the top teams, and that gives us the best chance to stay up. But those are the games we need to be winning. And Mitrovic can compete against Forest, Bournemouth, even Everton. I know Everton are going to spend a lot of money this season, but Southampton, Villa, they're the teams we need to be competing against. And Mitrovic is good enough to score against those teams. So I think put aside the other top half of the table where we're going to pick up very, very few points. But if Brentford can do well, Leeds did well in their first season a couple of years ago, there's no reason why Forest or Fulham can't do the same.
Fair play, man. Listen, Mr. Dorr, Daniel Roberts got a chat for you. He says, for Mr. Dorr, how good is Keenan Davis? And can Balogun do the same if he joins Forest? Obviously, he was at Middlesbrough, and I think he did okay. Not like banging him in every week, but he was okay. What's your thoughts on that?
But Davis, you know what? When we sent him on loan, those Forest fans were thinking to themselves, "Oh, he's not doing. He won't do nothing because he didn't do nothing for Aston Villa." He come into the club, and what can we say? He did fantastic for us. I know he got injured against Luton. We thought he went me back, but he come back against Sheffield United. And with him in that team, he makes Brendan Johnson play better. He makes that number 10, whoever it is, Lolly, Zigano, Davis, he bullies them defenders for 60 minutes. Is he good enough for the Premier League? Time will tell. And do I want Forest to sign him? And I know we've been linked with XYZ players who plays like Davis. So I think Davis is about 22, 22, 23, I think he is. He's good, but he needs to score more goals. I think that's what with Forest. I think he scored 6 goals for Forest, but he did more than that. If I'm honest, like he made assists. But that's what we was lacking. Like we said, we did really good when Cooper come in, and when he came in, it was a massive difference. But Premier League is a different kettle of fish. We're playing against players like Liverpool defence, Man City, and that. So I think Davis, he can do good, but he needs to score more goals to get his out. If we finish 17th, I'll be happy. Above Fulham.
He had to get that in the end there. No, fair play, man. Listen, as for Balogun, to answer the question, I think what Balogun did at Middlesbrough is probably where he needs to stay. I'm not so sure Balogun is ready for the Premier League yet. If he is, then I'd like to see it, but I don't feel from what I've seen that he's ready. So maybe he needs to stay in the Championship and,
Dan was linked with him. And I think all his Forest fans thought, yes, good player for Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. Did well for the England 21s. And it was out him or Davis. Balogun, I think he scored. How many goals did he score for Middlesbrough? 2 or 3. And you've got to be ruthless in the Championship. And I just don't think he needs another spell in the Championship. I don't think he's ready for the Premier League. And so I think it was Eddie Nketiah when he went on loan to Leeds. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. I understand why Arsenal fans have got upset signing a new contract, but he's not good enough for the Premier League. Yeah.
Fair play, man. Perhaps you're right, mate. I can't say that I strongly disagree with that, to be fair. Let's talk Arsenal, man. Let's finish on Arsenal. I'm going to get all your thoughts on Arsenal as well. Tom, 150 to 200 million war chest. Stan Kroenke's going to back Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta's going to get what he needs again. This is sounding all quite familiar to the last 15 years, bro. What's your thoughts on Arsenal's war chest and summer, mate?
Yeah, it's a headline that draws attention. That's for sure. That's what we've come to expect from those type of headlines. To be honest, I think in reality, I did predict. I thought Arsenal will spend similar to what we spent last season, which was 150 million. I think if you look at the targets that Arsenal have got during this window, it kind of does make sense that it would be that amount. Gabriel Jesus is the primary. I imagine that Arsenal's business will certainly kick off more so to mid to late to the start of July. The international break is having a bit of an impact on what's taking so long in some senses for Arsenal. People, moaning about why aren't we getting these players in now? But the honest situation is that because the players are on international duty, that has slowed things for Arsenal. As soon as Tielemans and Jesus return from Brazil and Belgium, I expect those will be ones that kind of move and accelerate much, much faster. And they are the main two. Tielemans and Jesus, I think, are two great Premier League quality additions to the team. I think that's the type of signing that I'd like Arsenal to do more of is these types of Premier League proven talents, not the surplus to requirement Cech and Louise and Willian and Welbeck and Cedric, not these types of players. We need these starters in Premier League teams, and they certainly would progress Arsenal's team forwards. The other area, if we are, and we have moved on so much in the striking area, we have to bring in, my view, a wide forward that can score goals. Gabriel Jesus may be viewed as that player, and in that sense, if these links to Scamacca at Sassuolo are true, it could be that Jesus is seen as more of that wide player that can play in any of the three attacking positions, and Scamacca's brought in as kind of that classic number 9 option. But he's only 23, which, as I mentioned before, as for an Italian, is considered still young. It's not necessarily the same in places like England and Germany and Spain, but he's not getting the chances in the Italian national side because you've got a player like Ciro Immobile, of course, up top. If he moves to the Premier League and gets playing regularly for Arsenal, I think he'd definitely take that spot from Immobile if he, gets scoring. And I think Arsenal can present him that opportunity. And it is a characteristic that we need is a tall, physical, someone who can offer more. He still needs to develop, aerially in that presence. He's not the finished article by any means aerially, and he actually needs to bulk up a bit more. But he certainly will add that difference that we've not had at Arsenal for a while. And then the other area is the left-back kind of versatile fullback position, which Zinchenko's been linked. And I'd jump at the chance to sign Zinchenko. I think he's an excellent profile and kind of the perfect style player that Arsenal could go for to offer not only cover at left-back, but there's real potential in this kid. If you watch Ukraine and when he plays for Ukraine, he's different class to everyone else on the pitch when he plays for Ukraine in that left central midfield position. So Xhaka would have competition and some if Zinchenko came in.
Yeah, I must admit, mate, in the chat, people are saying, can we get these players in? Can we attract them now that we're not in the Champions League? We've got, is Tielemans going to come in and replace Granit Xhaka in the starting 11? Is Granit Xhaka going to be leaving? There's quite a lot with Arsenal, in my opinion, Tom. And I look at it and think there's so much surgery needed in midfield and up top. The only good thing, I suppose, is that we're being linked with the right positions again. And like last summer, we were linked with the likes of Ødegaard and Ben White and Ramsdale and Tommy. It all come true. The season before that, or the window before that, should I say, it was Partey and Gabriel we were linked with. We got both of them. It looks now that Jesus and Tielemans are the two that we're being heavily linked with, and I could see those two happening. And Scamacca, although people are saying that perhaps it's a lot of money for him, I think he's the right profile of striker. I'm looking at Tammy Abraham as a massive option for us. I really like this kid. I think that in Europe, he's the top English goal scorer. He's got himself into the England squad, proven at Chelsea, a massive Arsenal fan, massive gooner. And I believe Jose Mourinho has said that, because that was my next point. I believe Jose Mourinho said, crack on, go back to London, but knowing Jose Mourinho, it isn't going to be for 25 million. So is that an option? My question to you is, Tom, of do we go for Scamacca and just pay that kind of 40 million mark, or do we look to just go all out to get who we want? And, Kroenke, give us the money because you've got it.
Yeah, well, look, if it was a choice between Scamacca and Abraham, I'd go for Abraham all day long. I think it's criminally underrated is Tammy Abraham. When he was brought into that Chelsea team, without any transfers because they had the ban, he led that from the front. Ousted Giroud, I think Morata might have even still been there during that season as well. Tammy Abraham is developed leaps and bounds. He's ironically underperformed his XG, which is sometimes looked at as a bad thing. I think his XG was 20.1 for the season and he got 17 goals. So there's argument that he could have even got more, last season and could have broken that 20 goal mark last season. So come back to the Premier League, don't let Harry Kane stat pad his way to all the records and become the England's number one striker at Arsenal. I'd be all up for that, but I don't think I could do the 70 million. Yeah, that's probably a bit too much.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but if he's going to give you the 30 goals a season you need, I'd snatch him up tomorrow. I really like this kid. I think he's got everything that a striker needs in terms of attributes. I like his pace, I like his power, I like his strength. I think he can hold the ball up, he can be a target man, good with his head, proven to score goals not just for Chelsea but also in the Championship, and everywhere he's been he's scored, now obviously at Roma too. Won the Europa Conference League. So I look at that and think that's the kind of player that I really want at Arsenal. And I think although Gabriel Jesus might be a good signing in terms of his mentality, he's not actually prolific in front of goal. I don't think he's terrible in terms of his conversion rate for when he's got chances. But I look at him and think, are you a player that's going to get us 15 to 25 goals? I'm not so sure that he is. I think he could be a really good player for around the place. And I think he can definitely bring us the work rate and the attributes that perhaps we need, as you say, Tom, for a wide forward, and we do need somebody in that position as well in terms of strength and depth. But I look at that and think, if you're our number 9, that doesn't fill me with excitement, if I'm honest with you, and Gabby Jesus, who I do think is a good player, but not one that I think can take us to that next level. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's come to you, Emilio, in terms of Arsenal. You know my thoughts on Arteta and the process and how I don't sit there and believe it to be the best. But I have to say, I've got to ask you about just Arsenal in general, the transfers, and of course, Mikel Arteta himself.
Yeah, it's like you said. It's he turned around your season. I know I'm exchanging messages with you at the beginning of the season when you're pretty much at the bottom of the table, and he's done a good job. I think turning the club around. You almost got qualified for the Champions League, and I still think he's got potential there. To be honest, he's still young. He made some good decisions subsequent to the new year. You were one of the informed teams at the second half of the season. I think the Arsenal fans are behind him, from what I can gather. Again, I see a lot of friends of mine who are Arsenal fans. They're all believing him. They believe in his strategy. I think there's still this question about what's his vision, what's his philosophy, what's his style of football. Still a slight question mark there, I think, to be honest. But overall, you can't be sacking a manager who's got your top 4, top 5. I know you're knocking on the door of the Champions League, you're almost there, but get a good transfer window in there. And there's one player I hope you'll keep your hands off. Napoli's my Italian team, but there's still some links with Victor Osimhen, who I think would be a perfect fit for an Arsenal, someone of that ilk, in a club of that ilk. To be honest, he's strong, he's powerful, works hard, strong, he runs quick, he scores goals, he creates assists. He's a bloody handful, to be honest. So that's the sort of play. If you wanted it, Scamacca or Osimhen, I think there's a no-brainer for me. Go for Osimhen, but then clearly I don't want Napoli to sell him because I think he's a linchpin for us. We need that quality. We're in the Champions League next year. We need a player of that quality to lead our forward lineup. But I think he would be a good signing for Arsenal if you're prepared to stump up 60 to 70 million quid for him. Big transfer window. But I think at the end of the day, Arteta, I think, give him one more season. This is going to be his season now. He's got to get you into the Champions League next season for the season after next. Failing that, then I think it'll be the end of his ride at Arsenal. Hope. But then, Dan, what do you want, Tom? Do you want him to succeed, so you got him for the next few years, or do you want him to fail and you had to replace?
I don't want him to fail. I don't want anyone at Arsenal to fail.
All you Arsenal fans want him to fail, man. Come on.
Dan will tell you that's certainly not the case for me. Look, with Mikel Arteta. The thing is, after Villarreal, I've maintained that after that Villarreal game, I was done. I was like, we're not going forwards. We're not progressing. We kept faith with him this season. I was like, fine, look, we'll keep faith. Let's see what happens. And to be honest, last season, he really turned my head. He changed my mind on him. The progression that happened last season, the signings that we made, I didn't expect us to be in a top 4 chase last year at all. And that was because of, the signings that we made and the decisions that led us to play as well as we did through last season. So I think he's earned another season. I don't think he earned a 3-year contract last season. I would have liked to have seen us kind of wait until what was going to happen next season before we gave the contract. But we have. You can still sack a coach, it can happen. You can't sack a player in the same way. So, yeah, look, I'm looking forward to next season of what brings, but it will be very, very, very much weighted upon what business we do in this summer window, of course.
Well, listen, me and Tom always agree to disagree on stuff, and Tom's happy to try and back the manager, and fair play to him. I've seen enough. I'm no longer coming for Mikel Arteta. I'm coming for Stan Kroenke, because I think when you underachieve for 3 seasons in a row, which I think he's done, he needs to be sacked. So if he's not going to get sacked, there's no point me blaming Arteta, because it's not his fault. He's the one who's underachieving, and he needs to go. So if Stan Kroenke's not going to sack him, that's who I'm coming for. Tom, I know you need to shoot, mate. I'm going to love you and leave you, let you go. How can people follow you quickly? And thanks for coming on, mate.
No, pleasure. And it's great to see you doing your own channel, Dan, and I wish you the absolute best of luck with it.
Cheers, mate.
Trust me, it's worth it and not worth it at the same time sometimes. So you'll experience all of that, I'm sure. But you can find me at the Gooner Talk TV on Twitter, or just the Gooner Talk on YouTube, doing transfer updates every day at 8 a.m. Yeah, I am that man.
That's a bit early, isn't it, Tom?
It is, yeah. Start work at 10, do the show at 8. It's all worth it.
I'll subscribe.
Oh, man. I'll see you soon, boys. Have a good one.
Take care, Tom. See you, mate. Take it easy. Boys, before we do wrap up, I want to get your free signings that you would like Fulham and Nottingham Forest to sign this summer. I'll do mine first to give you a little bit more thinking time. So I would really like us to sign Tielemans. I think it's pretty heavily linked. I think he'd be a fantastic centre midfielder for Arsenal. I think he can do it all. He's a box-to-box midfielder. He can play defensively if he wants to, and he can link up play. I think he's got all the attributes to be a very good player. He brings in a little bit of experience, although he's not a winning mentality. I know he won the FA Cup. He's a Belgium international. He's the right age at 24, 25. He's experienced enough, and he's Premier League proven. I think that would be a very good signing. Because of Thomas Partey's injury, I really want to see somebody like Basuma coming in. I really, really do. I think Yves Basuma at Brighton is an absolute monster, and a player that will come in and be that anchor in midfield when Thomas Partey is out. And to be fair, can probably play alongside him and either be that box-to-box or allow Thomas Partey to be pushed forward into that box-to-box. So they're the two in midfield I'd really like to see. And of course, the other player that I'm looking at, now that it's not going to be Darwin Nunez, is Tammy Abraham. If we got those 3 players in at Arsenal, our first 11 straight away strengthens. And I think we can compete then Champions League football-wise and be as close as we can to the best of the rest, which of course is behind Liverpool and Man City, who in my opinion are just uncatchable. So they'd be my 3. Mr. Dorr, let's come to you first, man. Nottingham Forest. Who are you thinking realistically would be 3 good signings for you, mate?
You know what? The first one that comes to my mind is Nick Pope, Burnley goalkeeper. He's experienced in the Premier League. He's an England international as well. So, because as you don't, I don't know if anyone knows, Samba wants to leave Forest. Okay. Because he's one. I think he's one of the lowest wages at the club, and he wants a better contract. And why not? He's part of the club, part of the team that got Forest promoted. So, if Samba goes, get Nick Pope. Jermaine Souls. I want him because, like I said, he's a leader. He's got Premier League experience and he's a captain. So, and he loves Forest as well. So that's another one. And last but not least, no one will really know this player. He's a striker. No. What's his name? Joe Rodon. I like him as well. Another centre back because, like I said, I think we need a. It's good. We've got Joe Worrell, we've got McKenna, but I think we need at least 2 experienced centre backs. So Joe Rodon, Lascelles, and Nick Pope.
Here we go, man. You're trying to strengthen at the back, which I think is wise. They say build foundations, don't they? So that's what you got to try and do, man. So and realistic as well, man. Fair play to you, Emilio. Let's come to you, man. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, same as Mr. Dorr there. It's all about being realistic. To me, I'm looking at all the players that we've been linked to. A lot of speculation with a lot of Spanish and Portuguese players, which is no surprise with Marcos Silva's background. I think realistically, we need to strengthen in defence. So James Tarkowski was one player I'd like to sign. I think Everton are heavily linked with. I think he's doing medical as we speak, so I think he's off the table. As was Matt Target. I thought Matt Target back to Fulham would be a good deal, but he's gone to Newcastle a few hours ago. So there would have been 2 good experiencing players that could have bolstered our defence. But realistically, we've been heavily linked with left back with Alex Moreno from Real Betis. I think good experience, good qualities, coming at a high fee. I think there's a minimum they want £50 million. I think minimum. I think we've gone in for about 12 or 13. So if we've gone that high, then I think that's more likely to be a certainty, and we'll add a bit more quality defensively at left back position. We've got Anthony Robinson, who's young, still got some upside there, but defensively a little bit suspect. And Joe Bryan, no disrespect, is really not good enough in the Premier League, so he would bolster our defence quite significantly. There's a defensive midfielder. There's this Libyan international from, I think it's a Sporting Braga called Al Musrati as well. Again, he's coming in with high credentials. I think, again, if the speculation is correct and he's knocking on the door to be signing for us, I think he'll be Seri going. We need someone of that level of quality. He's mid-20s. I've seen some videos of him. Look quality on the ball, strong and physically as well. What you need in that defensive midfield place. Problem is these players are not proven in the Premier League, so there's always that risk there, to be honest. And the other one, I'd like a new goalkeeper as well. I think Nick Pope, will be the obvious choice, but let's go and get Areola back from West Ham. We had to let him go a season ago, and I think he's not good. He's too good to be a number 2 at West Ham. Let's put money on the table. Let's go and get Areola back in goal. I think you need a leader in your goalkeeping position, and he was that for us under Scott Parker a year ago. Don't forget, we didn't concede many goals the season we got relegated. In fact, we didn't score any. That was the issue. Now we've got Mitrovic. He's got his confidence is sky high. We need to reinforce that defence, and hopefully Areola or Nick Pope or even Henderson, for that matter, any of those three would be good for us.
I think they're realistic, mate. I think both of you probably going to be looking at a spine. I think that's what you need to do, is look at a spine when you come in. It's not always great to buy kind of backups and backups and backups. It's sometimes good to look at what your spine is and use perhaps the spine you've currently got as your backup, and then have somebody to either partner them or replace them. And that's what I would do if I was Fulham or Nottingham Forest. I'd look at what we've got and see how we can strengthen. Boys, this has been a pleasure. It's really great to get you both on as well in one of the first shows back, because obviously you're back in the Premier League. It's exciting. The summer transfer window's open, and I wish you both the best of luck for the summer season. I hope you get the players you want. I hope it excites you, because it's going to be great, and you guys are going to be coming on regularly on this channel, so it's going to be great to have that with you. Emilio, how can people follow you, mate, before you do go?
Well, there you can see on the screen there, Teddy Nello's me personally, and then the Fulham podcast. You could please all follow us, Cottage Talk. We're also on YouTube as well, so give us a like and a subscribe there, please, as well. Thanks, Dan.
Of course. No, mate. Always welcome on, mate. Great to have you, and we'll welcome you back all the time. And of course, Mr. Dor, my guy. Dor on Tour on YouTube, man. How's that all going? How can people subscribe to you, mate?
I've just reached 8K. It was just 2 days ago. So, like I said, we're back in the Premier League. I do like vlogs, podcasts, talk to rival fans. I do everything on the channel. Interview ex-Forest players like Dan, Kevin Campbell.
Yes.
A lot. So, yeah. And now I've had so much people contacting me. Like, now we're back in the Premier League, and it's been crazy. So, yeah, if people want to subscribe to the channel, it's like Store on Tour. What's so much going on? I've had a little rest, but I'm back on it on Monday. So, but yeah, so much, like as you see, so much transfers we've been linked with. So I'll be starting that on Monday, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, if you want to see my channel, make sure you subscribe to Door on Tour, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. It's been 23 years, and I can't wait. And I know Dan's a bit worried because I know we beat him last time. And but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited now. Can't wait.
No, I bet you can't.
They're around next week, aren't they? Next Wednesday. Is it next Wednesday they're out? The fixtures?
Yeah, so we'll all be Thursday. We'll all be there waiting. Yeah, we'll all be there waiting. And I told Mr. Dor it's going to be Arsenal Forest at Forest Friday night, first game, just like it was at Brentford, mate. I bet any money, man, any money. But listen, I wish you both the best. We'll catch up very soon anyway. And I hope to see Fulham and Forest both in the Prem next season, because I like both clubs, to be fair. So let's see what happens. Guys, thank you all for watching, and thank you all for listening on the audio. Please smash the like and subscribe button on the way out if you can. It would be absolutely amazing. You're going to see regular content from me pretty much daily, every other day. Now that we've got a summer break, looking at transfers, not just Arsenal, of course, we're going to get a lot of discussions on here. We've got a lot of top 4 show plans. We've got relegation battle shows plans. We've got quizzes planned. We've got loads of content planned on this channel. So please stay tuned, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank you.